What is going on, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome back to another episode of The Kingdom Says. We are back in action once again in full force. I am your host, as always, Garrett Williams. Tonight, I am joined by my two usual co-hosts. We've got Kyle Henning on the top right of the screen. How are we doing tonight, Kyle?
Surviving. I'm sorry if I sound like crap. Kansas has decided that it's time for fake second spring or whatever it is before we get fourth winter.
Yeah, second fall
And
spring. Yeah.
I just still don't know if I've ever fully recovered from when I was sick before the Super Bowl. So now it's like allergies plus all that noise plus. Yeah. I'm here. We're good. We'll roll.
Happy to have you. Yeah, happy to have you here joining us. And also join us, Mr. Thomas Pike, Arrowhead Tom. How we doing tonight, Tom?
Super Bowl. What Super Bowl? I don't.
Yeah.
Anyways, hey, it's good to be back with you guys. We obviously took a little bit of a break. Something partially planned, partially not planned.
Not planned.
Had to let some things simmer down.
Yeah.
But doing well. Got the fancy sign up. Shout out to my boy Chris. Hooked me up with that, and it's pretty rad. But yeah, no man, it's just good to be back. It's good to be talking about football, and we're getting ready to turn the page and move on to some other things. So, yeah. But as always, it's good to be with you guys and see your lovely faces and talk about the Chiefs, which is what we're here to do.
Exactly. That is exactly what we are here to do tonight. It has been about 3 weeks since the Chiefs Super Bowl lost to the Eagles, which was just not a fun day. Not a fun day, not a fun game. We're not going to talk a whole lot about that game tonight, just because it's been 3 weeks. So we've had time to let our frustrations kind of simmer and ease out. And I think a lot of us are just definitely locked in, looking forward to this next season. But we're not gonna just completely skip over it. We do have some brief thoughts on the Super Bowl and everything else that's happened in the past few weeks. And then we've got a lot of current event stuff for the Chiefs to talk about, which will be fun. We got the NFL Combine going on this weekend. We got offseason and free agency right around the corner. There's a lot that we have to look forward to, especially talking about on microphones for you beautiful folks who we cannot appreciate enough for joining us once again and still rocking with us and coming back. And I hope we were all excited as we are for this off season that we've got ahead of us. But let's just get it out the way real quick. A couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago now, the Chiefs on their quest for the three-peat went to New Orleans and played the Philadelphia Eagles in a rematch of Super Bowl 57. Two teams that are very familiar with each other. And the Chiefs, they got blown out. I mean, it's pretty easy, cut and dry way to say it. They got blown out. They got their butts handed to them in mostly PG terms. It was just early on from the game, you could kind of tell what was the problem.
We could.
Yeah.
Apparently nobody on the staff could, but we could.
Yeah. Something that we could see coming. We saw this coming from a couple miles away, especially our guy Kyle here. And it was just the kind of a bad day to have a bad day. Not a lot of units really showed up. Defense, mostly fine. Offense was kind of just the problem, which I had been all season for the 2024 season. The offense and specifically the offensive line come into a fatal collapse basically in the Super Bowl, allowing, I don't even know how many pressures and sacks, a ridiculous amount.
It was another record.
Yeah.
As you're watching the game, there's stats popping up. This is the highest pressure rate and and you're like, oh, Jesus.
Highest pressure rates. And
it was like 50+%. Like,
very reminiscent of the Tampa Bay Super Bowl, except even maybe not as fun, even maybe less fun. Kyle, I'll let you take the.
I don't even want to really go into it too much. Like this, we talked about this for a month leading up to the Super Bowl. I said 1,000 times, really don't think putting Tooney out there on the edge on his own is a good idea. He's been fine. He's been serviceable. He's been as much as you could have ever asked from him. but he's not a left tackle. Putting Mike Caliendo in that game, not a good idea. He's eventually going to get punished for it. I watched him in the Bills game get picked up and carried into Patrick Mahomes' lap.
Yeah.
Not a great plan. And if you're going to do it, you have to go about it in a certain way. You have to have a specific game plan. And instead, they said, we're going to try the 2018 offense with this left side of the offensive line. And shockingly, to not anyone sitting here, it didn't work. And then, I think the part that was most shocking was there was no adjustment at all. And I'm not, look, it should have happened before the game. Fine.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the first quarter, everybody on the planet knew that that was a problem. No change. You have a elongated 45-minute halftime?
Yeah, it's pretty long. It's a pretty long one.
You're the team that makes halftime adjustments. Adjust, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
Either change the game plan up or change the personnel. DJ Humphries is not dead. He was on the sideline in gear. It can't be worse than what was happening. It can't. It's not possible.
Can't beat any more than what you were getting beat.
You legitimately ran the ball, I think, twice in the entire first half because you couldn't run behind Caliendo, which is something we've said for a month.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Look, that was the worst. It looked like they, when you're playing a video game and you get into a situation and you just take your hands off the controller?
Yeah,
what it looked like from the coaching staff. It looked like they walked in there, that went sideways, and they were just like, well, crap.
Well, yeah. Well,
like
who could have ever predicted this?
Well, I guess that's it then. Yeah.
And the defense did everything they physically could.
Yeah.
They were on the field the whole night. They had short fields over and over and over again.
Yeah, the Chiefs had the offense had 13 yards at halftime or something.
Patrick
like just
made a terrible throw once. Mm-hmm. He also was running for his life all night.
Yep.
All night.
The second interception, he saw ghosts. He Sam Darnold it.
Because that was one of the only times he didn't get pressured the whole first half.
Well, the tackle flashed outside on Trey Smith, and there was a gap, and you could see it where you watch it, and he thinks Trey Smith is getting beat, but Trey moves and absorbs the guy, but at that point he's reacting to that pressure that he thought was there because he was used to just getting absolutely just mollywopped every time he touched the ball. His internal clock sped up. By the way, I'm going to say this real quick because I know, and I don't even want to give this a lot of airtime just because it's so ridiculous, and people talking about, this affects his legacy. He's nothing. Shut up. That is hating to hate. Patrick is still on an unprecedented pace. He's still got more Super Bowl rings than several franchises, especially several of these franchises who have fans who think that it's appropriate to talk crap when you don't have a single ring. And he's you just watch the guy play football and you go, yeah, he's special. And there are other special. Don't get me wrong, but to say, Tom Brady doesn't do any better under pressure. Ask Steve Spagnuolo in that Giants team. Both times that was the story.
Looked a lot like that.
Not function. No quarterback in NFL history has done well when they're affected like that. And that's why you pay your pass rushers a lot of money. That's why you put an emphasis on getting to the quarterback. And the Eagles did that, and they did that well. And that let them drop their guys into coverage and do all those things. And then, like you said, at that point, it was, the
whole game plan was let's go deep.
Yeah.
Let's go intermediate to deep. No quick game, no short game, no end rounds, nothing. Not anything that we watched work all
year.
Season. Mm-hmm. They didn't help the line hardly at all.
Yeah, and when they
They
did, it
didn't.
was sloppy. They were overthinking it. They're let's move
Yeah,
Travis across formation to try to chip
no,
block.
just
Just leave him
just
there.
line up and help.
Big on big. Line
Throw
up.
the
Put your
quick
shooter,
stuff.
hit the guy
If
from
you're
here.
getting dummied over and over again, do something
Change,
different.
do something. That
Look,
was probably the most frustrating thing is sitting there
I'll,
and just the
that's
absolute no change in game plan, just the same thing,
you can ask the
drop
people that
back,
were
drop
watching
back.
it with me. I wasn't even mad about anything else other than
Yeah.
why do you just continue to slam your head against the wall and expect the wall to give? Why?
Yep.
Like what? And don't tell me there wasn't other options. You pulled Kingsley for less than what was happening to Mike Caliendo in that game.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Way
Much
less.
Yeah. I think.
Hell, if you didn't want to move Tooney from tackle to guard, try, I don't know, anybody else at guard.
Maybe
Yeah.
anyone else. Yeah. Just
Yeah.
anything else besides what the
Look,
Chiefs
I
did.
mean,
Yeah,
you
it
can
was.
sit there and hammer
Yeah.
Mike Caliendo. It's not his
Yeah.
fault either. He shouldn't have been in there.
Yeah,
It was
bad
not a
position.
position
Yeah.
for him to be in.
I'll leave it like this.
Anything else?
I'll leave it like this for me on this. The silver lining was, in the second half, Patrick said, okay, we're going to do this my way now, and we're just going to go. And he
Mhm.
just started letting it go. Single coverage, double coverage, deep. He didn't care anymore. And that deep ball to Xavier Worthy is going to matter when we start
Mhm.
looking at 2025. This
Yep.
will not be the same offense again this coming year. And everybody wants to Tom's point about the stupid conversations around Patrick, I'm only going to do this really once with this subject.
Yeah.
It is not Matt Nagy, folks. It's never been Matt Nagy. It will never be Matt Nagy. If you have a problem with game plan and play calling, it goes to the guy with the Cheesecake Factory menu for a play sheet. That's it. This is Andy's boat. He's the one driving. He's not letting Matt Nagy drive the ship, guys. I don't know how many times we have to talk about this, but Andy is the one driving the boat.
Yep.
So
I just don't
this
like Matt
offense
Nagy.
will change. They will adjust.
Don't like Matt Nagy.
Remember what happened with the Bucs Super Bowl? They went out. They got smoked. Everybody was upset. Everybody was pissed off. Brett Veach said, yeah, we're fixing this now. And then they came out and completely changed the entire offense. Changed the offensive line, changed the structure and the scheme of what they were doing in some scenarios, changed the whole thing. Best believe it will be a different offense in 25. Now, part of that will be because of the personnel is going to change. We'll have Rashee Rice back at some point in that season. You will
Might be earlier than you think.
Hopefully. I'm hoping they don't throw the book at him, but we'll see how that goes.
They might not throw any book at him, from what I've heard.
Well,
Sources.
no way. There's no way he doesn't get something. So
just saying, sources. I don't know.
Who knows? They're going to spin the wheel and Roger Goodell,
the damn
office,
dartboard.
and he's either going to get more or less than the guy who had 26 sexual assault charges against him, but
who's still on
probably more based on everything else.
Anyway,
but,
so
back to the Super Bowl.
You're still going to have Rashee. You're going to have Rashee. You're still going to have Xavier there. Travis, we'll get to in a little bit.
We're doing a lot of looking ahead.
They're probably adding another weapon on top of, even if they are able to retain Hollywood Brown, which is another thing we'll get to here in a little bit. They're going to look different because they're going to have the guys to look different. And I think the statement made towards the end of that game when he just started Texas Teching it, for a lack of a better way to put it.
It was good to see.
I have a feeling that's what you're going to get a lot more of, and I
Eagles
do
also
think
played off a lot. They were.
That's fine, but they played off, and Xavier Worthy still went past two of them over their head for a.
Got to shout out Xavier Worthy for being one of the.
He was the only bright spot on the whole
yeah.
field.
Basically, the
entire
game on offense, he was the one bright spot. Which shout out to Xavier Worthy and a phenomenal rookie season from him. Because
pay attention to how they come out, because this feels a lot like 2020 when they're going to have vengeance on their minds. And
I think they already do. And
yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like this feels a lot like 2020 when we finished that and we were like, we'll see what it looks like. I don't really know. I hope they come out, and they came out with hair on fire. And what did he do that year? He won MVP. He won Super Bowl MVP, and they won the Super Bowl the next year. Correct? Right?
No.
That was right after after the Bucs Super Bowl. I'm fairly certain.
No, next year was the
following
AFC
year.
Championship
Sorry,
loss.
The following year was the Bengals loss.
Yeah.
So, but that season they rolled through until the Bengals game where they had the one bad half and it cost them.
Right. No,
they rolled the whole year.
That's kind of part of the reason that this Super Bowl loss didn't feel as bad. Because I thought that was kind of a contention of which one felt worse, this one or the Bucs loss. And
Bucs by far.
Loss, yeah, we had
because
no idea.
Because you didn't win 2 straight Super Bowls before the Bucs
didn't have
loss.
any idea if they would ever bounce back, what would happen. Like the team, it's like there was a lot more uncertainty around the actual dynasty part of the Chiefs than what there was now. Like losing now, like we're going to be back. Like we know that for a certain fact. Like we are going to be back there. Like the dynasty is still 100% intact. Like it's not like that's why I was
as frustrating as that game was
about this one.
As frustrating as that game was. Guys, they won two consecutive before it, and they went to the third, and that's gravy. I know it sounds insane because the standard they've set for themselves is to win every ring between now and his retirement. I get that. But that's not real. Like, I know we've talked about a ton in the past, like, hey, this is, like, not normal. It's not normal. It's not a thing for, like, any of the franchises on the planet. Nobody else has ever even made it to that game.
Mm-hmm.
Now, somebody forgot to tell them to show up and play that game once they got there.
Yeah.
But, again, if as far as how bad it feels, no, the 2020 Super Bowl was way worse because that was what happens now because the whole offensive line was shot. Everybody was hurt. Everybody was done. Mitch Schwartz retired.
Yeah.
Like, there was a whole lot more question marks leaving that Tampa Super Bowl than there are leaving this one. And your quarterback is just now entering quarterback prime years. Like, we're just starting the prime years of quarterback play for the best quarterback you've ever seen throw the football. May not have all the accolades or the championships or the numbers because he hasn't played for 47 years like some other guys have. But he's got everything. Yeah. He's touched everything at least once.
And that's why also this feels, not as bad of a loss because, this loss, it's like there was one issue. We all saw the one issue. It was the left side of the line. If you fix that, the rest of the team was largely fine. And you look at the entire season as a whole. Like this team lost
the same conversation we had all year.
This team lost one game with their starters. All year. Yeah. Like ultimately, it wasn't the prettiest. Winning streak and whatnot, but like they were getting it done over and over again. So it's like, and that was with a pretty handicapped roster if you really think about it. Like we talked about it a lot before the Super Bowl, a lot during the whole year. Like your main contributors were Kareem Hunt and DeAndre Hopkins and just guys that you did not ever expect.
The whole team was hurt.
Roles.
You pieced so much this season together. Which is the other part.
Your left guard starting at tackle. It's like there's just so many things that we had talked about in the episode before, like how much of a kind of a storybook, like fairy tale season this was.
Yeah, sometimes fairy tales end badly, especially if you read the original versions and not the ones they adapted for kids.
Yeah, it's like it's just it sometimes doesn't work out all the time.
We'll look up some of the original fairy tales, like the real ones.
There's a reason why fairy tales aren't real, because it's that's just part of the thing. So, Tom, any other kind of thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very much in line with a lot of what Kyle said, and to sum that up, they adapted so many times over the season, and they found a way, 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 right? And they adapted, and then the biggest game, nothing else to lose, legacies on the line, this was huge. And I think we even talked about it going into the game. Like, it felt like there wasn't enough appreciation for the historical piece of this. Like,
Right. Yeah.
had
Did
they
not even
pulled it
feel
off,
like they were on the doorstep of the
Been
first
2
team ever.
weeks.
Yeah.
People
Yeah.
complain about spotting the football, and now we've changed
Yeah.
that rule too.
Yeah. So it was weird in that sense. But the
The
two
whole
things
game
that,
was weird too, especially the early vibes of it.
yeah,
Like, I don't know about you guys, but like they showed Chris Jones, he didn't have like the normal tier. He had like a Kleenex. Like, come on.
yeah, come on, bro. Yeah,
I
you
know
gotta
he got a
let.
Kleenex.
That's
I know
fine.
he
Know
got a
that. That's
Kleenex
probably why they
too.
left. You gotta let Chris
Yeah.
cry. Just like
Exactly.
you gotta
Let Chris cry.
you gotta
Yeah.
let Chris cry.
Also,
Like,
I ain't
that's
gonna lie, the anthem sucked. I had to throw that out there because
Oh
I just
my God!
yeah, that was the worst anthem maybe I've ever heard in my life. If I'm being real with
Am
you.
I the only one?
Like, it's almost disrespectful to the national anthem.
Holy crap!
Like, that's how much I literally, as I was yelling out Chiefs at the end after
She
he
forgot
double
the
take,
words.
after
I
he
know that I've
double
seen
pumped
people
3 times.
saying all kinds of stuff about what she did and that. She forgot the words at points, guys.
Yeah, it was not. I thought that was one of the worst anthems. So that just set the vibe as a very, I don't know, the whole vibe. I just wasn't vibing with it early on in the game.
Yeah.
So
okay. So just to summarize, they adapted all season, and they wouldn't adapt, and it was maddening to me. I had the same experience. I was sitting on the couch with my friends. We made way too much food. We were all
All of that.
overstuffed with barbecue, and I was, and a lot of the people I was watching, they weren't like super hardcore football fans, and I'm just going, DJ Humphries, he's on just put him in the game. Just try it. It's like this. If you're driving down the road and you're on a spare tire, okay? And I'm not going to tell you who the spare tire is in this analogy, but you can figure it out. If you're driving down the road and you are on a spare tire and you know it's a spare tire, it's your secondary choice of tire.
only rated for 60 miles per hour.
Got
probably.
limited mileage.
Yeah.
Yes. And you run that tire past its tread and it blows out.
Gotta find a tire.
What you would do is pull your car over when you have a chance, maybe, I don't know, at halftime. You would take that spare tire off and you would put DJ Humphries on.
Put DJ Humphries on the tire.
Why?
Yeah.
He's in the trunk. He was in the trunk the whole time.
Trunk.
And instead, they rode the rims until they were bent and sparking.
Yeah.
And
You know what? And not just that, they
tread.
rode on the rims and it blew out the other 4 tires.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what it was. This wasn't a bad game by the Chiefs. This was a bad game by that offensive line, and it affected everything else. It directly affected Pat's ability to for the turnovers. It affected because the one that he threw, again, that second one, he was rolling and it was weird, and his angle, like he angled it funny. And I know, and he didn't see the guy who he normally sees. So there's that. There is.
He didn't see the guy he normally sees because he was looking to see how many monsters were chasing him.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the defense was just absolutely gassed. I mean, they had what, 14 points off turnovers in the first half alone, and here's the moment when I knew it was that third quarter drive. They started that first drive in the third quarter. They got a couple first downs, and then sack, and then field goal.
Yeah.
Oh, the thing that ended it for me, when I knew it was over, was DeAndre Hopkins running with no one other than the fans within 60 yards of him. Yeah. And not only did he drop it, he fell down and dropped it.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the other thing along with that, and this is why I noticed it with Pat. This is why I noticed it with Travis. And Travis talked about it, and we can transition probably on this note. When people were looking at those guys like, hey, we've been down before, we've come back before, and it just it wasn't there, and especially from Pat, and I don't blame him.
Ran out of gas.
Because they've been doing it all year, and I think there comes a point as a competitor where,
let's be honest, they've been doing it for 2 years. They manufactured a Super Bowl win last year, and then they went out and did more manufacturing to even get to the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah. And
it's been 2 years of, hey, Pat, hey, Trav, is your backpack got room in it?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Got a little bit of room in there for.
And now, I'm mostly talking about the offensive side for everybody who's
Mhm.
going to freak out and say, well, the defense carried. Yes, the defense has
The
been
offense,
good.
yeah, the offense has been the
The
problem.
offense has been carried around on those two shoulders for 2 consecutive seasons now. Yet, the wide receiver core last year was Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, and me and Garrett.
Yeah,
Like,
and it sucks because they were going to run it back with a better core, and
until
then
Rasheed showed up in like week 12 or whatever the hell it was last year. Like
yeah,
that.
right,
That's
yeah.
legitimately like they manufactured all of the season prior and then had to do it again worse this year because they lost everybody just for the whole season basically on offense. Like
Yep.
you
It was,
eventually there is no gas left in the tank. I don't care how big the gas tank is or how full it was.
and I can definitely relate. I mean, I can imagine having to sit on the sideline and try to motivate your guys, and then you go out for another drive and it's just sack,
And that's
and
Hit
then
while
like,
throwing, pick.
yeah, it's like at a certain point, you just can't do much more. It's got to be one of the most demoralizing feelings ever.
You got to
Like, I
look
can't
over and
imagine.
eventually go, I don't know, guys.
Yeah, like it's just not like you gotta kind of realize like it's just not your day. So it just wasn't the Chiefs' day. It was a really bad day to have a
To Tom's
bad day.
point,
And
Travis said it. I didn't motivate him. I didn't get him going, and he's gonna
right.
always. And that's the other thing. Those two guys will always, always, always take all of the blame for everything.
Accountability is
even when it's not even kind of their problem. They will always take the slings and the arrows, and they do it every time something happens. It's happened for 7 years now. There is no question that when they go to the podium or they have to answer questions on the field or answer podcast questions or whatever, it's always on them. It's never about, oh, the team didn't. You didn't. If you've watched New Heights since they've been back, no mention of the offensive line. He didn't do enough. I didn't do enough. I didn't do enough.
They would never say it outright, but
Mahomes, the whole press conference at the post game, me, us, me.
I mean, those guys also didn't play a very good game as well. But yeah,
it's always us.
Always have to take the blame.
It's us when they win, and it's I and me when they lose, as opposed to the opposite in a lot of other cases.
Yeah, not as ideal. So, yeah, I think that sums it up. I think we've kind of hit the nail on the head right there. The last thing I'll say, to all the haters, you better get your licks in. I'll tell you what, you better enjoy this short couple months.
My Lysol can is somewhere around here.
Yeah, because I'll tell you what, we are going to be back, and it's going to be even more sweet when we come back. And you thought we were annoying before. Oh boy.
Listen,
next year, if we win it, oh boy, everybody is getting it. We ain't holding no back. You think we're cocky now? You're getting it.
Oh, yeah.
You're all getting it. I'm telling you what. It's.
I've already started the receipt folder.
I'm about to say we're pulling out receipts from years.
I've already started it. I started it the day after. I just started.
I'm a little more laid back because I'm like, you know what?
I'm gonna be preaching from the rooftops. I'll just tell you that much. Next February, you will see me with many alcoholic beverages in my system, letting everybody know what we just saw. So, with that,
one team that gets to talk trash, and that is the Eagles, because they're the ones.
Shout out to the Eagles. Happy for Saquon, happy for Jalen Hurts. Those are two good guys.
It's 1-1 now.
It's 1-1. Yeah, you got one. We got one.
I bet you we'll get a rubber match in the next 3 years.
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah, so there seems like a pretty good chance because they are still the Eagles are still a juggernaut in the NFC. So there's a very good chance.
Well, that in the NFC's soft as the NBA East used to be when LeBron was on the Cavs and the Heat. So
with that, that wraps up the Super Bowl talk. After the Super Bowl, obviously kind of had a lot of time to decompress and
as you can tell, we're still really happy about what we watched.
Yeah. A lot of guys got the ability to get a chance, step away, reset a little bit. There was a couple notable storylines. One main one.
Same day.
Yeah. Same day, basically.
Now, I think a lot of us already kind of knew one of those pieces. At least I know I did. I think we kind of talked about it in the group. I know some of our friends, Kingdom Cast, already kind of knew what was going to come out, but the first news of the day, Garrett, was what?
Well, now I'm scared because I don't know the second news of the day. So now I'm confused which one was which. Kyle, what
Travis
was
was first.
Okay,
Yeah,
Travis first. Oh yeah, so Travis Kelce,
Your
retirement.
boy. I figured you'd be all over it. Your boy announced it per his sources.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You threw me off with the sex. I don't know what second thing you're talking about. So I don't.
We'll get there in a minute.
Okay.
The
Yeah,
tag.
obviously following the Super Bowl a couple of weeks after, the biggest kind of news for the Chiefs was Travis Kelce's retirement status, and that had been talked about a little bit before the Super Bowl, the week leading up to it. Travis had said
There
on
was some
Media Row
nonsense about
on Super Bowl
timeline.
week that he was pretty much locked into coming back, but there were still a lot of stories and reports that said otherwise. Obviously, it was something that Travis probably definitely considered, and I think there was definitely a part of him that wanted to retire if they had won that game. But coming out just this past week now, this combine week, official that Travis Kelce will be returning for a 13th season. Run it back one more time, per sources of Pat McAfee show, citing that, he was not going to go out like that. He had a very foul taste in his mouth after that game and how he played. And like you said, he admitted on the podcast on New Heights, like he did not play his best game. He did not lead the best that he could. And that was kind of a story, all season. It kind of seemed, you could tell, especially if you watch New Heights every week, that he wasn't having the most fun season. Obviously they were winning a lot of games and stuff like that, but they weren't very good wins necessarily. And I think he definitely took a lot of the blame for some of their struggles throughout the whole year, culminating in that Super Bowl loss. So a lot of reasons for Kelce to be really fired up and to put this season behind him and make the next one all that better. Likely be, there's a chance he plays after that, and but he has one more year on his current Chiefs deal. That seems to be the last dance is seeming to be what we've got in store for us for
It's up to him.
for this 2025 season.
Can we be clear? If he wants to come back for another year or 2 years after this, guess what? He's going to come back on this team.
The Chiefs will open him with open arms.
That is entirely and completely up to him. But if it is last, and if it is the last run, I know it's the last. There'll be a lot of talk because it's the last year on his deal.
Right.
All that noise. It's up to him entirely. There's no.
Yeah, I will say, I am happy to have Kelce back, and I am very excited to see Travis Kelce continue to play football. I will, just a little caveat: it is tough when athletes get to the end of their careers like this and they start to decline a little bit, and you have to put the good thoughts of previous years and all the fun memories of Travis. You have to kind of hold on to those and not be as frustrated when his production is less, in his later years. I will just say, and I have a lot of faith that Kelce will do this, but he's got to come back and be motivated. He's got to come back and be really, really motivated, which it sounds like he is. And he'll be the first one to say that he has to do better, like he does. Like, obviously, there was a lot of different things this year that the offense wasn't clicking on, but it wasn't like Travis was necessarily a problem, but he also wasn't 100% of the solution. Does that make sense? Am I sound crazy for that?
You make sense, but I'm going to push back a little bit and just say, as a team and as your coaches, and this might trigger Kyle, and we're going to end up in another conversation. As coaches, you need to have the cojones to say, "Hey, Trav, you're slowing down, boss. You're still going to be a part of this offense, but you're not going to be the guy no more." I think that was the plan before the Rashee Rice injury. I think if you look back at those first 2 weeks, there was definitely kind of a passing of the torch. There was a different idea for this offense, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then that all kind of blew up pretty quickly with the Hollywood injuries. Like they were planning to lighten that load, and even you look at how much Noah Gray got more involved this year. So
all the tight ends, if you think about it, they drafted Jared Wiley, and they had
how many tight end injuries did that? Yeah.
All the injuries.
As a coaching staff, you have to put your team in a better position than to rely on your aging tight end. Great tight end. There's not. I'm not taking a shot at Travis here. I'm telling you, you gotta, as a coaching staff, have a different game plan.
that's
and they
valid.
didn't.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that definitely wasn't the ideal situation for him this year in any capacity. So I have obviously a lot of confidence, and I'm going to enjoy it no matter what. Just that is just a little caveat. Like let's make sure this is a good year. We go out on top and really, put some good things on film that you want to have that lasting impression of. Because like I said, we're not going to get prime Travis Kelce obviously anymore. Like that's just a thing of the past. But we can still see little glimpses and things like that. And I'm just hoping for the best. I'm hoping for the best. And I'm very confident that he's going to come back extremely motivated with a fire under his
I was looking for it. I can't find it. Louis Riddick was on, I want to say, NFL Live.
Yeah, it was somewhere on the NFL Network. Yeah, he was at the
It was
Combine.
on ESPN, but I don't remember which show it was. It was at the Combine, but he was on ESPN.
Yeah. You sent that to the group chat, yeah.
I looked. I could not find it in the group chat. I looked everywhere.
Yeah.
I looked through like 4 group chats, to be honest. That's what. Sorry, if everybody was wondering why I was looking down while those two were talking just now. That I was looking for the tweet that I was after. We all know, if you're familiar at all with the Chiefs at this point, that Lewis is as plugged into that organization as anyone physically can be. In the media space, far more than any of your other sources of information can be. We won't. I'm not going to go down that road right now. But in short, his summation of everything was on Travis's return and what to expect. This is war. Was the quote.
Yep.
It's part of the reason I said what I did earlier about the ending of the Super Bowl. I was sitting there thinking that while I was watching towards the end, when they started to put points up and they started to just.
You guys were watching the Super Bowl?
He started to just say, "F it, I'm doing it. Let's go."
He got turned off after halftime.
No, I watched that whole.
Kendrick told me to turn my TV off, so I did. I
don't think he was talking to you, but
I turned it off.
He was talking to Kendrick was talking to somebody, but I don't think it was. I don't think it was you. This is war being the tagline, the finisher of that quote after it was like a 1 minute and 20-second clip. Y'all,
are we about to go?
Find your app of choice and look for some futures. I'm curious to see what they set Mahomes' over-unders and lines and such at. I'm curious to see what they set Travis Kelce and Xavier Worthy's over-unders and lines and such at.
I highly recommend you go check out our friends over at Underdog, and if you decide to do that, make sure you throw in the promo code Kingdom Says. I know right now we're in our NFL offseason. We don't.
There's all kinds of stuff on there right now.
But if you love sports and you love us, and you should love sports and hopefully love us because you're watching, just give it a shot.
Just give it a shot. Check that out.
We'll do it again next year.
And I'll be clear. I'll have some stuff on my profile, even if it's not necessarily on the Kingdom Says profile, for the NHL. And I will also have some MLB stuff for you guys throughout the year. On that port, we'd like to stay working with Underdog, and if you guys help us out, I'm happy to help you guys out with some thoughts and some ideas. There'll be some over-unders on all kinds of stuff like I said, they have NHL, NBA, MLB, MLS. They have gaming on there in some instances, like video games, pro leagues.
They got
all
NASCAR
kinds of things
on there.
I was gonna look. They probably do.
NASCAR, I'll tell you what.
Garrett does love him some NASCAR. He loves some racing.
Just putting this out there. If anyone's going to the NASCAR race, Las Vegas Motor Speedway, March 16th, I will be there.
Nice.
400.
Little meet up with Garrett at the Speedway. I will say this: I've been to Kansas Motor Speedway. Grandpa used to have tickets for all the races at one point in time. First several years that it was open. There is nothing like a NASCAR crowd, man. It's a lot of fun.
NASCAR is
crazy.
RIP.
But this
Club
is war really stuck out to me when he made it a point to make that statement, and I wouldn't be so surprised if that's the mantra in the building for this coming season. And hey, man, strap in because they're going.
It's gonna be a good one, I think.
To your point about Travis, I know that he needs to be better or whatever. The man had 97 catches and 830 yards.
That's true. Yeah, he still had a pretty.
I know he didn't go for 1,000 and 100 like we're used to, but it was still pretty close, and a lot of that was preservation for extra things because he can't take 7,000 hits a season anymore.
Right.
He's 35.
I mean, the workload management's
it's part of it. So he also, and we talked about it, wasn't supposed to be the focal point of the offense. That was not supposed to be how that went. That's why Rashee Rice was there. That's why Xavier Worthy was drafted. That's why they brought in Hollywood Brown. And then they were without two of those guys 5 minutes into the season.
Figuring it out.
So, he'll be just fine. And
he'll be good. My biggest thing was
motivation.
Yeah, motivation.
He's motivated.
Yeah.
If you listened to him talk on New Heights about this conversation, he is highly motivated. He has a bad taste in his mouth, and so does Patrick, and that's not good news for a lot of other teams in this league. The next news on the same day was a little bit surprising because I didn't think they were going to use what they used. I expected it to be more of the deal perception, per deal option, but they franchise tagged Trey Smith.
Yes, the Chiefs, kind of their biggest free agent that was going to be available.
Oh, not Nick Bolt. Oh, sorry.
No. This was definitely clear cut the biggest free agent that was going to be
on the market telling people
from the Chiefs
the entire year.
He was also going to be. I mean, Trey Smith was going to be the biggest offensive lineman on the market if he were to hit the market, and would have definitely reset the guard market as far as average per year and all that, which there's still a good chance he does with KC.
He might.
But yeah, this was a move that you didn't really see coming. There were some reports that the Chiefs wouldn't use franchise tag or any kind of tag on Trey.
They lied to reporters? Really?
Well, I think also part of that is probably the franchise or the salary cap being a lot higher than they initially anticipated.
About $9 million more than they expected.
Like $9 million over like the projected numbers, which is huge. Which obviously makes a couple extra million for the franchise tag a lot more feasible for Trey. Which franchise tag for him is 23 point something million. So
23 and change. We're not counting pennies.
About what he was kind of projected to get if he hit the open market average per year. So the benefit is that the Chiefs can, obviously they're tagging him with the intention of getting a deal done. This isn't going to be like last year where we saw a tag on L'Jarius Sneed, and that was just a whole running thing for a while, trying to get him to traded and whatnot. Like this is the goal, is to get Trey a long-term deal in KC, which will be good that the Chiefs can at least kind of exclude or lock in that negotiating window, get exclusive.
I think that's 100% what this was about.
Yeah,
we want to be the only ones to talk to you.
Yeah, happening during Combine Week 2. Like, there was obviously probably a couple conversations, couple questions asked of what Trey's market might be, and they said, you know what, we're going to be comfortable with that salary cap number instead, just to make sure that.
The timing especially is telling because of that. Those conversations that happen. One,
St. Elmo's is a popular spot, kids.
I think that there's a couple pieces to that. Mostly, I'm going to guess that the Chiefs kind of figured out that, one, Trey was going to have a strong market, and if he hit it, he wasn't coming back. But two, with the increase in the salary cap and all that stuff, I think they felt more like it was more manageable. So, like, that's where you get it's kind of a hard thing to predict because you're sitting there and you're waiting, and then they drop that news, and then now you're there in Indianapolis and you're talking to people and you're finding out like, oh hey, yeah, this team's interested and they're going to probably offer this much or whatever. And I think something that maybe the rest of Chiefs Kingdom didn't like appreciate is like Trey Smith is a good player, and good
Yeah.
players like that don't hit the market often of his caliber, right? Like, and people complain that he is a above average. I would probably put him in the top 5, top 10 conversation, right? And he's young, right? This is his second contract. It makes
contract,
sense.
really.
Yeah.
First big contract, first act besides a rookie deal,
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's his second contract minus, so yeah, I think keeping him in the loop, keeping him in Kansas City makes a lot of sense for in that for these purposes. But yeah, it was surprising to see them. There were some reports that said, "Hey, they're working really hard towards a deal. They might be close." And again, I wonder if it was "Hey, let's buy ourselves some more time. Let's get ourselves a little bit more, runway." Because when you tag a player like that, teams are going to back off. They're not going to wait. They're not going to talk to you, in Indy and be like, "Hey, next year when you're a free agent." If they want to make a move on him now, they would either have to trade for him or give up 2 first-round picks. A trade would be more likely. But you put that tag on him, it kind of cools off that market, the immediate market, and you have a chance to be like, "Hey, man, I know you talked to a couple people. They said this number, that number." And in football, one of the greatest leverages that teams have is the bird in the hand, because your football career can go like that. So you are rolling the dice a little bit if you wait. And again, that's what some the agents are there and they're going to do all that. But you put that tag on him, cools down the market a little bit. Maybe you have some time to get a deal done. Sounds like it's a priority. I have pretty reasonable confidence that it's gonna be. They're gonna put a good effort into that.
It's in the best interest of both parties to have a long-term deal worked out. That's the thing. So, like, the other parties, we don't have to worry about the Wish.com mob members negotiating this contract for this franchise tag. So that will help.
Yeah.
So I think the thing for me is this tells you a lot more, and this is kind of what we're going to wrap the rest of the show up with. This tells you a lot more about 2 things. One, it tells you what they thought about the free agent market at the positions they were going to look at in free agency, because they looked around and went, "Who are we spending money on?"
In general available. Yeah.
Like, Alaric Jackson's contract got announced earlier today. He's gone. He's off the project. He's not available anymore. Rams signed him long term. Ronnie Stanley has been made last for like 3 seasons in a row, and I would not necessarily be surprised if Baltimore does something similar with that we just saw the Chiefs do with Trey Smith. There could be a franchise tag there. There could be a lot of things that they could do with the Ronnie Stanley thing. I don't know that he hits the market. If he does, I don't know that you want to have $24 million locked up in a guy who's played a total of like 15 games in 3 seasons.
He's played better than that. I'm a little bit more friendly to the idea of...
I know you are, Tom, but there was literally 2 years in a row where he was on season-ending IR within like the first 5 weeks of the season, and not last year, but the 2 prior. It was very quick.
The 2 prior, I think he played 11 games and then 13 games, if I remember correctly.
So they were both lower leg, like ankle injuries, and I think, if I remember,
notoriously big guys that weigh 350 plus pounds really have a good time recovering from blown up ankles.
I totally understand I share that similar concern, but I also
I get it. There's not a market in where what you have with Trey Smith. He's been consistent. He's been reliable. It's the bird in the hand thing you just talked about. Yep. All of those things. So it was a little longer ago that he played 7 games in 2 seasons. The last 22 and 23, he played 11 and 13 games. In 21, he played a game. In 20, he played 6 games. So he hasn't played a full season.
21 one was a re-injuring, was a re-aggravation of that energy.
He's played 1 full season his entire career.
Yep.
Not great.
There'll be more time to look into left tackle options for the Chiefs, but
it tells you a lot about the free agent market and the Indy conversations that they had in Indy, where they were looking around and talking to guys, and they're looking at markets, and they're like, who the hell are we going to spend money on out here in this group? And that's not necessarily great. And it's the reason I think a lot of teams are doing that is because when you look at this draft class, it's weak.
Thank you.
It's real weak. And like, I don't think it's, I saw this comp thrown out. I don't think it's the 2013 year where they had like 3 first-round viable picks total in the whole draft. But I do think you've got like 7 guys, 10 guys maybe that are certified first-rounders, and then everything after that,
kind of a little questionable. Yeah, definitely a little shaky.
And the conversation about the sweet spot of this draft is actually where the Chiefs have multiple picks. They have 66, they have 69, I think, right now, because they have the Titans first or third rounder.
Pretty nice.
They've got 90, whatever it is, for that. That second to third round is where most of the sweet spot of this draft looks to be from a player perspective. And so when that's the case, there's not going to be a lot of available top-end free agents because teams are like, hey, man, there's not a lot of answers in this draft class.
So, yeah, if you're talking about
we got to sign free agents.
This is a very bad free agent class as well.
But a lot of that is because the teams that have free agents that are up and available are like, no, we're not doing that. No. So
so it's good to see the Chiefs lock in Trey, or at least
makes a lot of sense.
Secure him for at least this year.
The other thing it does is it saves you from overpaying a middle linebacker you shouldn't pay.
Yeah, that'll be more conversation. Last thing I'll say on Trey Smith, couple things. You reward the guy for the hard work, right? Like, he was a 6th round pick. You know, he had to go through a lot in the college and you know, the whole draft process. And,
P.S. He was a 6th round pick because of his medicals, not his talent.
Yeah, so like, he had to kind of go through. And obviously, 6th rounders don't make as much as 1st or 2nd rounders. So there's a part of it where you know. That's a part of team building that doesn't really get discussed a lot, is like, hey, you pay your players that you've drafted that have played good for you. You know, like, that sets a precedent throughout the whole locker room.
That have played elite for you. He's been elite at times.
For a 6th round pick. Yeah, like, incredible. Yeah,
not all the time. He's not been elite all the time, but he's been elite at times.
I mean, he's not a perfect player, but yeah, that sets a message in the locker room that, like, hey, if you perform good and play well for like, you can get a contract, you know, and that's and also, you know, there's the dynamic of like Creed and Trey. Like, it didn't seem like they ever wanted to break those guys up. They're a pretty good duo.
They share a brain half the time.
They're really good ambassadors for Kansas City as a whole. Like, really good, good. They're good for the team. You know, you want to keep those. They're like faces of the team at this point. Like, a couple years ago, Mahomes went on Monday Night Raw and he had 2 bodyguards with him of Creed Humphrey
and it was those 2.
Like, that's saying something. So, I mean, this was always in the cards for KC. I think they always wanted to get this done because, like Trey's a really good player. Like, he's not perfect. He's a really good run blocker. He's a good pass blocker. Not great, but he's good
above average at pass blocking, and he's an excellent run blocker.
Yeah, so, like, that's a player you lock in. You know, you don't want to, especially after the offensive line troubles, like, you don't want to have one less good offensive lineman going into next year. You know,
that too.
So that's kind of the big thing. Also, a benefit of signing Trey to a long-term deal, hopefully after this, you can structure the contract better than if he was going to free agency. So that's the kind of the thing. Like, the Chiefs, the next year or maybe 2, are going to have a little cash strapped, right? They have some big contracts still on the book. You have Jawan Taylor's contract that's going to be big. A couple other ones. I mean, Travis Kelce's still on there, and so there's an aspect to it where it's like, if you get a long-term deal done, you can have those first few years be a little less and then ramp up in those later years. Whereas opposed to if he were a free agent, he would probably go to another team like the Bears or something, and you're getting a lot of that cash up front because there's a lot of unknown, there's a lot of instability. Like, who knows? Like, you know, there's just a lot of more question marks. So it is a benefit for the Chiefs that they can still lock him in for a big APY, you know, deal and get him at the top of the market, but structure it in a way that it's going to work out really well for them. It's going to work out for him. I mean, it's a good relationship to continue. So it's good to see that they've made the first step in at least securing him for this year. And yeah, per all reports, it seems like they're very, very optimistic about getting a long-term deal done very soon. Like I would bet before the draft happens that they get a long-term deal.
Well,
That's
they
just
may
my
be
thought.
trying to get it
The
done
better
before
for
free
them,
agency.
for the sake of free agency. The
And
sooner
also,
the
I
better.
mean, we talk about the franchise tagging L'Jarius Sneed last year. Like that was a whole thing where they really couldn't sign a lot of free agents and all that because they had all this money tied up in the franchise tag Sneed. So I'm sure Brett Veach isn't going to repeat that mistake, and he's going to
I don't even know
try to
how
get
much
this
of a
handled.
mistake that was because they got the guys they wanted largely in free agency last year. They just made them wait to sign them. Like they knew who they wanted.
There might, I don't know all the reported free agents that we might have missed out on last year. Who knows? But I'm just saying it definitely kind of made things a little questionable for a little while there.
Sure
so
did. That's fair.
I think it'll be just a lot more clear cut. Hey, let's get this done, get that out the way, so we can focus on.
They also have about 7 different things they can do, even if they don't have that rocked up by free agency.
True.
To,
As far
to
as
create
restructures
a
and stuff.
bunch of cap space.
That is true.
Yeah.
The other thing that it gives them an option to do is it gives them some flexibility with Joe Thuney and what they want to do with that. Whether that's extend him, whether that's restructure him out more to move money, whatever they need to do there, having Trey under team control helps that situation out also because that contract is a very movable. They've got a lot of options when it comes to what they want to do with Joe. I think that's another guy who they may look at extending out and giving and moving some of that money down the road because he's done everything on the planet you could have ever asked from him.
Oh yeah,
and then some.
He won the team's MVP award this
as he should have. He was insane. It's insane what he did this season. Insane. And I know he had a little bit of a rough time in the Super Bowl, but he was not main culprit of that.
I mean, he was part of the problem, but he was not the problem.
Correct.
So
it's also not really his fault. Like, come on.
Right.
No,
that guy's name starts with Andy, but the last name isn't Reed. So there's a lot more room. Mahomes' contract, he's either going to get the conversion done, that's the automatic kickers that are in there to move roster bonus to signing bonus and blah, blah, blah. Or they may look at redoing it again because they can pretty much redo his deal anytime they feel like it because that's the relationship that they have with his agents.
Yeah.
They can get together and go, okay, time to redo this bad boy again. Because he makes a gajillion dollars off the field too, so he's not exactly hurt for the team contract aspect of it. He has to do certain things to make the league happy, to keep his fellow quarterbacks happy. God knows Mike Florio will have a heart attack if he doesn't. But he doesn't need the Chiefs contract to be his main source of income, which sounds ludicrous when he's making like $50 million a year just from them, but also he's underpaid at that number. Just throwing that out there.
Yep, he's about to be.
Oh yeah.
So
Kirk Cousins is about to be out here causing real problems for people.
Kirk Cousins is making $40 million to be a backup. That's crazy. But again, there's a lot of room and a lot of things they can do from a contract perspective to free up plenty of space if they want to do stuff in free agency and make certain moves in free agency, that they're not hamstrung by this franchise tag, no matter what certain doom and gloomers
definitely a little bit better
on
situation
the internet say
that they're in it this year. They don't have they're gonna have a lot more availability as far as cap and moving.
And he's healthier than L'Jarius was, which
that's
if
also
you don't believe me, ask the Titans.
That's also a very big plus. Sal L'Jarius, he's still a dog. I think I'll have a good year this year in Tennessee. But I mean, hindsight, it seems like the Chiefs have made out on that trade at least.
They are definitely ahead on that deal right now.
So that's the two biggest pieces of news. Travis Kelce coming back, Trey Smith franchise tagged in terms of a long-term deal. So that's kind of the biggest things that have happened as far as Chiefs direct kind of related news.
Been a lot of talk about Hollywood Brown and how much they want him back.
Yeah, so there's a couple of free agents that the Chiefs are going to have that we've talked about a little bit, and Brett Veach specifically mentioned in one of his combine pressers that Marquise Hollywood Brown is one of those guys that they really want to get back. From the way that Charles Omenihu talks and has been on podcasts and stuff like that. I wouldn't be surprised if they try to extend that arm
Really
again and try to
out a
get
little
Charles
longer.
Omenihu back.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a couple guys. Obviously, the other really big notable free agent for the Chiefs is Nick Bolton. That's a guy who, per reports, it seemed like the Chiefs were very motivated to keep him around long term. The problem is going to be at what number. That's kind of the big thing that I don't think a lot of people are even very sure of. And that's Combine week. This is the week that you can kind of get a better idea of what Nick Bolton's number might be. Because I think the Chiefs, without a shadow of a doubt, would like to have Nick Bolton back. I think unfortunately, as much as us as fans might not be in love with that, Spags has talked about him so highly, and it seems like for everything that they want, they're very happy with Nick Bolton. Yeah, I get it. Yes, slow golf clap. So it's not the news that many Chiefs fans probably want to hear, but I think realistically the Chiefs do. I would say the Chiefs would like to have Nick Bolton
at a nice round $8 million a year. Sure, Nick, come on back.
Yeah, so that's the thing. That's the thing
if
that they're
it's
going
a
to
dime more than that,
a lot
probably
this year.
not.
I think is if it's a single digits number like 7, 8, 9 million, or if you're looking at 12, 13, 14 million a year.
No.
Who knows? Because there's a decent chance that there's a couple teams in free agency that are going to be desperate enough to sign him for that number. So,
that's
still going to be something that's really kind of TBD that we're not going to. I don't know. There's going to be a little more time, I think,
all right.
that we won't know those numbers or know where he relates in the market.
Well, I can tell you right now, he is not worth $14 million a year.
No.
He is not worth $13 million a year. He is not worth $12 million a year. He's for me and by most accounts of people that don't wear Mizzou colored or certain Chiefs colored glasses, he's not worth $10 million a year. Okay? He's a one-dimensional linebacker that calls the defense. He's been great. I love him. He did fantastic things in the Super Bowl against Philly the first time. Thank you very much. This is the part of being the dynasty that's the gritty underbelly and the not so fun side.
Yeah, gotta make some tough decisions.
You cannot keep everybody, and I made it a point earlier to say Trey Smith has been elite at times for this team. Nick Bolton has never been elite at times for this team.
No,
he had one elite game, and it came in a Super Bowl, which was great. But he has never been elite. Why? Because he can't cover me. And I'm not trying to be an ass, but his coverage skills sucked at Missouri, and they've not gotten better in the NFL. He broke up a pass earlier this year, and we all went, oh my God, he broke up a pass.
Yeah. I was like, maybe his best play ever, yeah.
And he picked the other one off. Like, it happened twice this year, and neither one, and all of us felt like we won the lottery when he was in coverage. Like, that can't happen as a linebacker in this NFL. Not an every down linebacker.
We'll have a lot of time to talk more about exactly what that looks like. But yeah,
I'm telling you, I think the Trey Smith tag signifies the end of Nick Bolton in Kansas City. Because Garrett said it. These conversations in Indy, he's going to know that somebody's going to pay him way too much money.
Yeah.
And that's what he should do. He should go get that bag, young fella. This is setting up your family for generations if you do this right.
Mm-hmm.
You have to go do that. And Kansas City can't pay him 12, 13, 14. You can't have the highest paid player at every position. You can't. And I'm sorry, but linebacker is not the position. It's a lot like running back. You never want the highest paid running back in the league, right? Unless it's Saquon Barkley and he's your whole team behind a gigantic offense.
That did work kind of well for the Eagles, but yeah.
But it largely worked for them because their defense was insane and they have the best roster and they have a cheap.
Yeah, they already had a tremendous roster.
So, there's factors to it, but generally speaking, you don't want the highest paid running back in the league. You also don't want the highest paid linebacker in the league unless it's a guy named Fred Warner.
And that also worked out pretty well. That also worked out pretty well for the Niners. Yeah.
Yeah, they lost 2 Super Bowls with it. Great.
At least they made it to the Super Bowl.
Cool.
But, yeah.
But that's not in the business that the Chiefs are in. They're not in the making it to the Super Bowl business. What do we spend 35 minutes at the beginning of the show talking about?
They did make
Yeah.
it.
That's not the business that they're in. They're in it to win. Every time they get there, they want to win the game. Quoting a former Chiefs coach, you play to win the game, Herm Edwards.
I thought we played to have fun.
I don't dislike Nick Bolton, but to pretend that Matt Miller said this a week ago now, I think. He had listed the top 10 linebackers in the NFL, and a fan asked him where you would put Nick Bolton, and his reply was mid-20s-ish. Yeah.
Well, that was very telling. Yeah, because that Miller thread, he was, I think, asking like everyone, like, who are your top 10 linebackers in the league? And he had many people who quoted, many smart people who were very tuned in who quoted that. And Nick Bolton's name did not make even one list. I don't think, not even one.
And I want to say this because
we've heard nothing about him either. You've heard silence.
Nick has been an important player to this team,
sure.
to this defense, to setting some standards in terms of how you approach the game.
He's better than Anthony Hitchens. Great.
I think that it was last year. He's battled some injuries too.
Yeah, this year especially.
And I think that it's been noticeable, like that it's slowed him down.
Which he didn't have a lot of to begin with.
Yeah, and again, he got by on instincts and that type of thing. But he was a pretty historically bad athlete in terms of his testing. And then, like, it just sometimes, like, just like we're talking about, like, Father Time's undefeated. You're getting caught up. Like,
he's on 25 or something. I mean, come on.
But when you're injured like that and you're getting mollywopped, all that, like, it catches up fast, right?
Yeah.
Would you like his RAS score?
No, because I'm pretty sure it was in the negatives.
5.8, wasn't it?
4.6.
I was close.
Yeah.
Red. Not gooda.
Yeah, which is about how many yards per carry they gave up to Saquon in the Super Bowl. But no,
look, man,
they dominated Saquon. By the way, they dominated Saquon. Saquon
for the market, for the market, for what he's going to be able to get from another team, for all of the things, and you've been developing guys behind him. And you already have another guy on the roster that can call the defense because he had to do it when Nick Bolton wasn't playing.
Yeah, you got Drew, you got Leo. I think they'll add.
He'd draft another young. I mean, Brett Veach mentioned that it was a really deep linebacker class. That he really enjoyed some of the linebackers in it. So,
hey, let me do this real quick because I feel like this is a PSA everybody needs to hear when we get to this part of the year. I said this in our group chat to everybody. When you are listening to Brett Veach and Andy Reid talk and Indianapolis and these pre-draft interviews and this stuff, women lie, men lie, and Brett Veach lies in Indianapolis. They are not going to tell you squat. They will lie, deny. Why? Because that's what you should do.
Yeah. It's not 100% cut and dry like that, but yeah, otherwise. But it's pretty.
You better be really good at picking through what he's saying.
I'm just saying, Kyle, we did just mention that they wanted to bring Hollywood Brown back. That's what
I know, and there's a reason I just said that.
It's not like every single thing, but yeah, it's definitely a lot of misdirection.
You better be really good at picking up on what he's actually serious about and what is smoke. Because if you're not familiar, you will get fooled.
Yeah. So ultimately, though, it seems Nick Bolton. It'd be interesting. I can also, to be honest, I can see another team. Obviously, I can very clearly see another team paying him in the double digits. But there's also, I'd say, a justified reason. Like, he is he's got limitations, but he also will come in and change your culture and help really reset your defense and make.
That's great.
Like whatever team signs them, they will get better. Like let's just put that out there. They will get better.
But now he's going to make the locker room really well run in Washington.
Like that team is like having Nick Bolton. A team's going to really like having Nick Bolton.
The Chiefs just can't pay
the
for
Chiefs
that.
in their certain in where they are right now, and it's a good problem to have because they've drafted too many good players and they've had to sign too many good guys. So it's a good problem to have.
Because
But
you have Trent
it's
McDuffie
also
coming due next year, right?
yeah, Trent and George Karlaftis are both
Yeah.
going into their last year,
There's
so you have those
there's
guys on the
look-aheads
horizon.
too. So
And you have Leo Chenal, who's still young at that position. So yeah, there's just a lot of things that luckily the Chiefs don't have to pay a premium for a linebacker like him because they have so much good development and pieces around him. So with that being said, there's a
And they'll
decent
continue to
chance that they still get a deal done, and he works a little bit of a hometown discount just to stay in a good situation in Kansas City. We'll see.
if he does that, great. I
Yeah,
don't
but
see
also, as much as I've said all this,
I don't see it. I don't see it. I haven't
I mean,
He's
seen
going
it.
to have a market.
more so than
just
anything, I just
on
kind of want to see
value alone.
some fresh legs out there. I mean, it's
He's-
always it's a grass is greener situation. Like
Sure.
there's a chance
He's
that
gonna
they
have more
replace him with
value to
someone who
another
isn't
team
as
than he
good.
does Kansas City.
Yeah,
Like you said it. The locker room, the Super Bowls and the experience,
Oh,
all
yeah.
the intangible outside stuff that isn't necessarily on-field play has more value to a Chicago Bears, to a Washington
Right.
Commanders, to a Tennessee Titans, to a Patriots, to any of those teams.
Someone who's trying to rebuild their defense and needs a good corner piece to do it around. That's a solid option. So we'll still see. We'll see how that goes as the league year gets closer to officially being open, and we'll see all those deals that definitely didn't get negotiated before the window was open. They're all just going to get announced as soon as but they didn't get negotiated before the deal, right? The window, no.
Well, as long as nobody fights anybody in a Starbucks, we'll be all right, I think. So.
Okay, so with that, I think we've gone a pretty decent amount of time tonight, so I think we can kind of wrap it up.
We got a lot of off-season left, kids.
Yeah, there's still a lot to talk about. There's a lot of other free agent options that the Chiefs are having that they're losing. There's going to be a lot of free agent on the market that we can talk about, different pieces to fill in, and then obviously Tom's favorite, we've got draft stuff. That's the big thing. The combine's going to wrap up this weekend.
It's here.
Yeah, it's here.
It's been here. I don't know what y'all talking about.
We just got here to draft.
The rest of us are now here with you.
So we've got a lot of draft content coming this year with Kingdom Recon and different things on here that we're going to do. And we've got a loaded off season. We're going to be talking to you guys a lot throughout this whole thing with all the different scenarios and possibilities. And, whenever we learn more information, that'll apply accordingly. But with that, I think that'll about wrap it up for tonight. We appreciate you all tuning in and joining us on this one. Be sure to leave a like and follow us over on YouTube as well as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. All those are good places to connect with us. And
hit the sub button on YouTube, guys, or any of your podcast platforms. Subscribe, that way you know when the content's out. Make sure flip your notifications on. We'll be live.
All that good stuff. I'm telling you, we're going to be a good follow through this off season. We're going to provide you guys a lot of good content and just keep you guys in the loop. If you want to be well informed about everything that you need to know during this Chiefs off season, it's hard. It's hard to get through sometimes for people. It's when not actual football is being played, and you got to really be invested. But we're going to do our best to keep you guys in it and be along for this really, really fun run it back tour that we're going to be going on this year. So.
And buckle up, because I think we're gonna have a ride. It's gonna be
this offseason is gonna be interesting.
Yeah, it's just started. It's just starting. We've got a long way to go before we can talk about some more actual Chiefs football. So with that, thank you all for tuning in and watching. Once again, we will see you guys next week sometime. Might not get 2 episodes a week every week. We got a lot of stuff to talk about.
Some combine talk. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, we've got a lot of stuff to talk about, though. We've got a lot on our minds. So
sorry, Mizzou fans. I apologize, but
that's a good way to end it off there. All right, that's it. Thank you all for tuning in and watching, and we will see you guys on the next episode of the King.